everybody wanting to create generational wealth, but nobody is wanting to put in the work for that. I understand, I totally understand. Putting in the work for something is, of course, the serious part and the tough part. But I'm going to share a few tricks with you which will help you to start the journey on creating generational wealth. But I also felt that this video should be about some of the lesser known things that people don't really talk about when it comes to creating generational wealth, because I have seen this in my clientele. I have seen people who come from that kind of wealth and how they function on a day-to-day basis. So stay tuned for what I'm going to speak. First thing, mindset. A couple of years ago, a client was paying me double the rate I normally charge. My work was to give her a pep talk every single time she went in for a meeting. Every time. Like whether the meeting was at 12 o'clock at midnight or whether it was at 1 in the afternoon, it didn't matter. Okay, she just wanted me to give her a pep talk every single time she went for these meetings. Okay, now the people who amass that amount of wealth also invest a lot in their mindset. That is the reason why they are able to take the kind of decisions that they have to take in order to get a certain thing done. Don't forget that these people who come from wealth also understand that mindset is something which is equivalent to money. Okay, so if you have a good mind, if you have a healthy mind, you are definitely going to be ahead, and you're going to be 5 years ahead of almost, like, let's say 75 to 80% of the population. Okay, so they inherit that mindset as well, that in order to get something done, you need to have a clear and a calculative mind. You need to be able to take decisions and you have to stick by them. Okay, so that's the thing that they inherit. Okay, the fact that their households are also chaotic like normal households, but they move quickly towards conflict resolution. I think that is very important when you're building something from scratch. Second, and a very imperative point, confidence and decision making skills. They do not sit back and contemplate what is going to happen, what is not going to happen. Like, I was having a conversation with one of the franchisee owners of a very famous ice cream brand in India, and he was telling me that how his dad had trained him to think that even if he's going to take a risk, he's going to learn something from that. I don't think a lot of us grow up with that kind of a mentality, because first of all, we don't have that kind of money to spare. Okay, but I guess when you operate from lack, then you only attract lack. And the business families who are able to crack that code, who are able to get past that bias, that because we don't have money to spare, so we cannot take those kind of risks. But the fact that they took a risk, that ensured that a lot of progress and a lot of profit was also on the way. So risk taking, or confidence in taking a risk or making a decision which might probably cost you a lot of money, that is a given. Okay, it is something that runs in their blood, you could say. They're not scared to take those risks, because you must understand that a millionaire has to lose millions before he becomes a millionaire, and a billionaire also has to lose billions before he becomes a billionaire. That's just how it is. As I discuss my third point, I can already smell the judgment that is going to come. They honor the divine. Okay, like, even if they are worshipping something, it's always the divine feminine. Okay, so they buy gifts for their female counterparts. They buy something constantly and shower the women in the family with a lot of gifts, their daughters, their wives, their sisters. They're always buying something or the other. Now, I'm not saying that you have to constantly load them with materialistic stuff, but I personally believe that if you honor the divine feminine, you attract more wealth. Okay, that's something that I have applied in my life also, because when I buy things for my mom or I buy things for my female friends, I see a lot of money coming my way immediately after. It's not to say that generational curses don't run in the family, but if you are someone who is wanting to build generational wealth, you also have to know what are the toxic family patterns that run in your blood, okay? Because you carry 14 generations of DNA. Now imagine how much of trauma you're carrying. If you're not able to identify them, how will you fix them? Okay, so you have to also be ready for the kind of triggers that are going to come up in the process. If you can overcome them, then definitely you're up for something good. These people also invest a lot in reading, in books, and they treat time as money. So they just pay money so that something can be done in the quickest and the fastest way possible, which again motivates them to work harder so that they can afford that kind of lifestyle. Now imagine, if you want to save time, you always will have to look for services that guarantee something premium, a service that nobody else is able to access. I'm going to mention a billionaire who is probably one of the richest people in the planet. He once spoke in an interview that how he wanted to buy 2 companies, and he didn't know whether he was making the right decision, but eventually he ended up buying both because he couldn't think anything through at the moment, okay? But it was very quick. So now both of the companies are doing really well. I do not like this person. Like, it's just my personal choice. I don't like this person because of some of the things that he has done, but there is something to always learn from people who have created that kind of wealth. So if you're too judgmental also, that stands in the way of creating generational wealth, because being too uptight with something is actually limiting yourself. So millionaires and billionaires all keep a very unbiased approach towards life. That is something that I get to learn from the people who create these humongous amounts of wealth. A very important point I would like to make here is, if your house is very chaotic, you are not going to be able to think properly. So once you understand the spiritual path, once you understand what it takes to fix something, once you understand that there are certain patterns that run in the family and you need to overcome them, because you do not want to become one of these people who you think are not acting right. So if you identify them, if you're able to identify them, then a new generation starts from you. So please know that creating a generational wealth is not just about the money, but it is also about the mindset that you are going to be imparting to the generations after you. So it actually begins with you. So from now onwards, if you just assume that there are no generational traumas and you are going to overcome every single trigger that comes your way, you're on the way, okay? You're just going to see a lot of progress first. Second is that it'll be easy for you to go through those challenges much better than what your ancestors or your parents or your grandparents, however they have lived their lives. You'll see that you're living your life in a very different way, okay? So generational wealth is not just the money, it is also the mindset, it is the value system, it is the tradition that people carry. Now a lot of traditions would be like, okay, we follow these patterns and that patterns and we worship that deity. Yes, of course, those things are there, but then the basic thing that these people who come from that kind of wealth is the mindset, okay? Work on it. Toodles.